Hello, and welcome to this virtual recording of meetings that we've held at the newly forming Stardust Cooperative in May of 2025. Quick agenda, there is a QR code here on the screen that you can use to access a copy of these slides, as well as some other information from the Ontario Co-ops Association about what a co-op is and what you can expect from a co-op more generally. We'll do the welcome and introductions, some meeting expectations, a land acknowledgement. We're going to talk about what Stardust currently is and why it's changing, what a cooperative is, the 7 principles of cooperatives, cooperative structure, the next steps, and there's not going to be a discussion because this is a video recording. Welcome introductions. We don't have a table. This is a video recording. Washroom locations, wherever the closest washroom is to you. Feel free to pause the video to go to the washroom, or I suppose you can take me with you and keep watching while you do what you gotta do. I can't see you, so I'm not gonna judge. Probably wouldn't judge either. I'll share my name. I'm Phoenix Friesen. My pronouns are they and them. I'll get to a fun fact about myself in just a moment. But first, I am here as somebody who was involved in the very beginnings of the Stardust Collective and have been involved to varying degrees for the past few years. I'm very excited about cooperatives. I lived in cooperative housing for 5 years, no, more than 5 years, for all of my teenage years. And am generally just excited about the potential for co-ops. And so that's why I am giving this presentation. You may or may not be familiar with me. If you're not, that's okay. We can get to know each other. We're going to have a good time right now. Fun fact about me, when I was a teenager, I was a drummer in a punk band called Freedom on Fire. And we weren't very good, but we were sure excited about doing it. Kind of a theme in my life, maybe. Getting better at things, though. All right, meeting expectations. We don't need to take turns speaking. I'm the only one speaking. It would be ideal if you can listen when someone else is talking. Again, I can't see you. I'm not going to judge. Don't raise your hand to ask questions. Instead, send an email to info@stardustcollective.ca if you have any questions at the end that I haven't managed to answer or that aren't in our frequently asked questions. And I would be happy to either respond myself, or Winnie, Brooke, or Emma, or somebody else will respond. Be kind to each other. I'm going to leave that one there. I think that's a fair thing for any time in our lives. Let's be kind to each other. So I can't see if you're being mean to me right now, but, be kind to me. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to whoever else is there with you. Quick land acknowledgement. I don't know where you are. If you don't know whose lands you're on, I suggest going to native-land.ca and learning a little bit more about the territory you reside on. I am in an area currently known as Hamilton, Ontario, which is also where Stardust is based. And that is within the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territories of the Neutral and Haudenosaunee peoples. This area is included in the Between the Lakes Treaty Number 3 of 1792, in which Indigenous peoples from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation ceded 3 million acres of territory to the British Crown in exchange for just under 2,000 British pounds worth of goods. In today's dollars, that would be about half a million Canadian dollars, or one small to medium sized house in the east end of Hamilton where Stardust is located. Not a super fair deal. Don't love that. You might say that that is stolen land. I certainly would. And so we have a responsibility to each other and to future generations to address the harms done by previous generations and the harms that continue to be done today. And some of those harms that continue to be done today include that Indigenous people way disproportionately make up our prison populations and foster care populations because of continued discrimination and oppression against our Indigenous neighbors. We are on their land. If you are Indigenous, that does not apply to you in the same way. But I know that for myself as a white person, I try to take as much responsibility as I can in my daily life to right those wrongs. I believe that one of the ways we right those wrongs is by trying to remove capitalism and white supremacy from our daily lives, and those two things are very intrinsically wrapped around each other. And so that's actually part of why we want to turn Stardust into a cooperative. What is Stardust, though? I've found out that some people who are attending these meetings don't know who we are or what we do and are maybe just excited about the idea of a cooperative or have heard about this from somebody else. So, Stardust Collective started about 3 years ago with a group of friends who wanted to make a therapy business that didn't suck. We wanted to be rooted in anti capitalism, anti oppression, queer positive, neurodiversity positive, and anti fat phobia, very inclusive space. That was kind of the goal, and also in a way that would work for a bunch of mental health practitioners who are also queer, neurodivergent, disabled, to be able to function working together. It has gone well. This change that we're doing is not a failure. Stardust does offer therapeutic services both at full rate and on steep sliding scales, including to many clients free services. Um, and have I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we have had dozens and dozens of clients, which is amazing. We also offer a variety of free and paid drop in groups and workshops, including the Socially Awkward Social Circle, which is an open weekly drop in group on Wednesday evenings, where people can just come and hang out. And there are peer support workers there, but it's also just a social space for people who might not have social spaces outside of that. We also have a monthly trans mask drop in. We have a weekly art group. We have had in the past a weekly Stitch and Bitch, as well as both two different monthly drop in gaming groups. And those were in combination with Compass. We're also working on partnerships with other organizations. We've worked with Compass in the past. We're currently working on a new project with the YWCA. We've managed to connect with people at the city on some projects, and so there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. But all of that cool stuff happening has relied on a few people, namely in this case mostly Brooke, Emma, and Winnie, and then to lesser degrees myself and Lex, doing a whole bunch of unpaid work. And we don't mind doing some unpaid work, but it's also ended up with each of us taking turns burning out and not having the capacity to keep doing things. And that's not sustainable for the long term. We want this to be something that continues to exist with or without us. And so a lot of what we're doing with Stardust Changing is trying to create a more sustainable future. And co ops are generally a more sustainable future. In Canada, a cooperative is twice as likely as any other kind of business to still exist 10 years after incorporation. That's that's a pretty cool number. So that is something that we are excited about, is having a more sustainable future where we have a broader base of people working together on this, spreading that work around. Um, that will make this more viable longer term. It will also make it easier for us to access grants and other funding and create partnerships, because we are looking to incorporate as a non share capital cooperative, which means that we qualify functionally as a nonprofit. But the rules are a little bit different. We don't need to worry too much about the paperwork part right now. That's just the broad strokes of creating a more sustainable future. We're also looking to take action based in our anti capitalist and anti oppressive values. Co ops are owned by the people who work there, by the people who use them. We are looking at being a multi stakeholder co op, which means that our members will be mental health practitioners, mental health service users. I will say most mental health practitioners are also mental health service users, so there's a lot of overlap there. But also other local businesses and services. We've had music teachers, people who have cleaning businesses, massage therapists. There's a lot of different people that we can bring into this to who all share some collective values. Um, and the goal here is not for Stardust to make money, though some of our members may have businesses that they need to make money in order to like eat and have somewhere to live. But for us to be able to support each other in a variety of ways that are not focused specifically on making money. Part of what we want to do is build a more resilient community. It's scary out there. It's particularly scary south of the border, and a lot of us are worried that things are going to change like that up here. We narrowly avoided that in the very recent federal election. We still have a conservative government provincially, and the communities that we at Stardust are a part of, and the communities that we serve, are disproportionately at risk under the kinds of fascism that is brewing. We're certainly not the only marginalized groups that have targets on our backs, but the way that we can best fight back against that is by having a resilient community where we can support each other. And Stardust would like to cultivate more of that than we have already been able to in our current format. We also want to expand the services the organization can offer. And so I mentioned that some of our members might have music teaching businesses. We might have some people who offer cleaning services or childcare. Like there's a lot of different services that we can collectively offer as members working together. And then the co-op itself, we're hoping to expand our library so that more people can access not just book resources, but also things like games and zines, and we're not sure what else. Like, this is something that'll be kind of up to the membership. We're hoping to put together a food pantry in our kitchen space. We already have some of these resources available. Like, if you've been in the Stardust office, you know, there's a little cart in the bathroom that has reproductive health supplies as well as harm reduction supplies. We want to be able to do more of that. But again, that's going to rely on there being more people involved in doing that work. And so, if we want to expand what we do, we need more people to do it. And that's what this step is. How do I go to the next slide? There we go. So, what's a cooperative? Anyways, I'll read this like very wordy statement first and then I'll break it down. The statement on the cooperative identity states that a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. Basically, this means we've got a big group of people right now who have some common goals and common needs and ideas about how we want our community to work, and we want to come together and build a thing together, and that thing is going to be separate from any other organizations. We can work with other organizations, but we will be our own thing, and everybody involved gets to help steer the direction that we go in. There are 7 principles to a cooperative, and these are shared by cooperatives around the world. The first is voluntary and open membership. And this means that nobody can force you to be a member. You can leave anytime you want. And our membership is open to anybody who wants to join. Now, does that mean that everybody gets to stay a member, that we have to say yes to everybody? It does not. If somebody comes up and, is being openly in contradiction with the values of the membership, we can say no. We don't want you as a member with us. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day. We do not want your money, and that's okay. But generally, we want to be as open as possible to anybody who wants to join in good faith. The second principle is democratic member control. If you are a member of the cooperative, you get a vote on everything that the membership votes on. We have, I'll get into the structure of the cooperative that we're proposing in a minute, but basically Everybody who's a member of the co-op has the opportunity to have an equal amount of say in how the co-op is run. That doesn't mean that we're going to vote on everything every day, but it does mean that generally the direction that the co-op goes in, everybody gets to decide how we do that. And that includes in the third principle, members' economic participation. You get to decide what the co op spends money on, how we get money, that these are, and it's important that everybody's involved in those decisions. For this autonomy and independence, I briefly touched on that on the previous slide. This means that we are our own organization. We are not under some other group. We are not responsible to an outside investor. We are our own organization, making our own decisions about what we do and how we do it. The fifth principle is education, training, and information. This is core to cooperatives. We want our membership to be informed about how a cooperative works, what their rights are, but also we can expand it beyond that. One of my hopes for the cooperative is that we will be able to organize having people go to conferences and events that are relevant to our membership, that we'll be able to bring in guest speakers to teach us things that we want to learn about, that we'll be able to partner with other organizations to run workshops, or things like, I don't know, first aid courses, that so that we all have the opportunity to be as educated, trained, and informed as we want to be. I'm really excited about alternative modes of education. I loved when Hamilton had a free school, and so I think that this is one of the really cool principles of a cooperative. Number six is cooperation among cooperatives, which means we work together with other cooperatives. One thing that this might look like is using a credit union instead of a bank. It means seeking out opportunities to partner with other co ops and not just other businesses. We will probably also partner with other businesses, but we want to work together with co ops whenever we can to keep the co op movement rolling, because, again, that's part of our values as being anti capitalist. Number seven is concern for community, and I think that this is something that is in like deep in the roots of what Stardust is. We care deeply about our communities, and we want that to come through in everything we do. We want that to be a core part of our work and personal lives. Um, and that's a big part of why we want to be a co op, anyways. So, how's a co op structured? The big blue circle that you see here, that is all of the members. Like I said before, it's voluntary and open membership. Anybody can become a member. We all will fit in that blue circle. Inside the membership, we like from all of the members, we will elect a board of directors. Right now, we're planning to have 7 people on the board of directors who will be elected by the rest of the membership. On that board of directors, we have to have a chair, we have to have a secretary, we have to have a treasurer. Those roles are appointed by the board of directors once they've been elected from basically who wants to have those roles. Um, and the board of directors is regularly re-elected. I'll talk a little bit more about the board on the next slide. The other core component of a cooperative structure is the committees. Um, that is what makes a co-op run, and I've got a whole slide about committees, but you can see that there's a whole bunch of those. You can be on more than one committee. We are hoping at this point that every member will be on at least one committee, and those will have varying degrees of commitment, in terms of like time and energy and skills. There's lots of options for that, and some committees might be as small as 3 people, and some might have 30 people on them, and that's okay. It's all about what we collectively want to do as the membership of the cooperative. So first we've got members. Anyone can become a member. I think I'm beating a dead horse with that one now, but just gonna say it again. Anyone can become a member. That means you can become a member. You don't need any special qualifications for that. We are currently thinking that a membership will cost $15 per year. We have had offers from several community members to start a fund for people who cannot afford $15 a year to get a community supported membership. And so we're exploring that option. So if $15 a year is a barrier for you, don't worry, we're working on that. And you should, like, please just get in touch and we can figure that out with you. The reason we're looking at $15 a year is because we are required to have an annual general members meeting, and charging a membership fee will allow us to make that meeting happen in person. We'll be able to get a venue, we'll be able to feed everybody, and maybe have some fun while we're there as well. So that is where that money will go. The costs of the rest of the things in the co-op will be on more of a fee for service basis. Some services of the co-op will be free, things like access to the library. I think everybody should have access to that for free, access to the food pantry. Um, there may be other services that are free as well, things like coming to groups or organizing groups, holding a group may be a free thing. Some things will come with an additional cost. One example is booking space at the office. Based on the number of hours per month the office is currently in use, um, we are thinking, or the math looks like it'll work out to that being about $25 per hour for office space. If the office space gets used more, that rate will go down for everybody. Now, in our current space, we are limited to only using the physical offices for things that are related to mental health and counseling. We think that there's a lot of things that we can fit into that definition. So, if you're not sure if the thing that you want to do would fit into that, talk with us and we can try and figure that out. Longer term, we are hoping that we can work together to find a space that is larger, particularly that has a larger group room. And if we have a lot of people who are wanting to use the office spaces, also more offices, and also that has less restrictive lease conditions. So those are some of the things that we're we're looking into right now. But booking space at the office will come with an additional cost because we need to pay rent to the landlord in order to continue having a physical space. Um, Something else that might come with an additional cost is if we're having social events, like if we're going bowling or axe throwing or going to see a movie together, there will probably be a fee for that. That again, we might have a fund for people for whom finances are a barrier, but these are things that can be discussed among the co-op. Longer term, I am just spitballing ideas here. From the membership, we will democratically elect 7 members to the board of directors. These folks are responsible for guiding the operation of the cooperative between the annual general members meetings. They're responsible for the finances and the property of the cooperative, and they will receive reports and funding requests from committees. The commitment we're thinking right now will probably be 1 or 2 meetings per month at about 2 hours each. It'll probably be closer to 2 meetings per month as we get started over the next year, and then it might drop off to 1 per month or even less frequently once we really get things going. But the board of directors in the immediate term will be a slightly larger commitment. When we elect the board of directors, we're going to do that virtually through an online voting platform, and the 2 people who get the most votes will be on the board of directors for 3 years. The third and fourth ranked votes will get to be on the board of directors for 2 years, and then the fifth, sixth, and seventh highest votes will be on the board of directors for a year. And then every year at our annual general members meeting, except for this first one, we will elect new people to the board of directors. So the 3 people in positions 5, 6, and 7 this year will drop off of the board next year to give the opportunity to three more people to join the board who will then be elected to the board. The reason we're staggering it is to make sure that we're never in a situation where we have a fully new everybody on the board of directors doesn't know what they're doing. We want to have continuity long term, and that's part of what makes a co-op more sustainable. Um, Cool. I think that's all I want to say about board of directors. Now I get to move on to my favorite thing about co ops, which is the committees. We are required to have two committees, governance and finance and audit. The governance committee would draft bylaws to bring to the annual general members meeting. In order for everybody to vote on those, they also help with the interpretation of bylaws. The Finance and Audit Committee makes sure that we are responsibly spending the cooperative's money and keeping track of where all of our funds are going. Um, and they also help with filing the taxes. Uh, Other committees that we can have, and we have had more ideas coming in since I made these slides, so I'll do my best to remember what we've come up with. Fundraising is likely to be a rather important committee. This will be things like applying for grants or planning fundraising events, making contacts within the community who may be interested in donating money to Stardust so that we can continue to offer things like a food pantry and a library and free drop in groups. And also, ideally, to be able to allow members of our community, not even necessarily members of the co op, but just like of our queer neurodivergent community locally, anybody who's accessing services at Stardust who can't afford them, to be able to do that at a reduced or no cost. So things like therapy services or cleaning services or whatever it is, if we can have a fund established for that, that would be really cool. And that's something that the fundraising committee could help with. The groups committee would be anybody who's facilitating a group, anybody who wants to help organize groups. Would be involved in that committee. I suspect that that will be one of our larger committees because we have a lot of people who are excited not just about the groups that we're currently running, but also about expanding that for things like a chronic illness or chronic pain group, having more game groups because we've got a whole bunch of nerds up in here who want to run game groups, and I love that. But that requires people to facilitate them. We have the space for it, but that will help with that is having those folks on the committee working together on scheduling and cross promoting. There's a lot that can happen there. Social committee is planning social events for the membership. So it's like I mentioned, bowling or axe throwing or going to see a movie together or having a community picnic. There's a lot of different things we could do as with a social committee, and this is to help us like build that resilient community, not just working on things together. Alec Femmins said this beautiful thing: they can take our rights, they can take our freedom, but they cannot take our joy. There's a lot of quotes like this. It's like during the AIDS crisis where they would fight and they would grieve and then they would dance all night. And I can't remember who said that, but I think it's so beautiful. And it's important that we find these moments of joy and play and fun together. And so the social committee is like they keep the morale up. It's not all the slog of doing the hard work. It's also like let's have some fun together. Speaking of the slog of hard work, maintenance committee. Stardust is run by a bunch of neurodivergent people. Most of them have ADHD. If you've been there, the garbage can has probably been full. The We don't know where the broom is. These are things that some people are very good at, and those people would be wonderful to have on our maintenance committee. And even if you're only kind of good at it, but can commit to coming in and helping with cleaning up, once a week or once a not even once a week. If you can come in once every 2 months and we have 5 people on the committee, that's going to keep the space cleaner. And this will be important as we have more people coming in and out of the space, more groups using the space, where we're going to need to have that happening. We also have a few handy people who have offered to help with larger maintenance projects. I suspect this will also be even more important if and when we manage to get into a new space. Another committee would be the Outreach Committee. That is making community connections with other organizations as well as recruiting new members to the cooperative. What that looks like, I don't know. That committee is going to have to decide that. Will I be on that committee? Maybe, probably. Historically, I have zero chill, and when I'm involved in something like this, I'm like, yes, I will join every committee. I'm trying to slow my roll a little bit and not commit to all of it. But I do love the idea of the outreach committee and getting to encourage more people to be a part of this, either personally or professionally. Another committee I'm really excited about, probably to nobody's surprise, is the Education Committee. This is getting us all educated, trained, and informed. There are so many different places that this could go. If you are interested in running workshops for membership, coordinating workshops for the membership, finding conventions or conferences that we can go to, this would be an excellent committee. We've also had suggestions for a political advocacy committee. Um, oh gosh, what else? There's been so many good ideas, and that's been my favorite thing about doing these presentations is getting those ideas from people, and I just can't hold it all in my brain right now. But if you have more ideas for committees, either hold on to them and bring them to us later at our first AGM or whenever, or email info@stardustcollective.ca because we'd be very excited to see that. You can also put it in the last question box on the form that I am about to share with you after this slide. Um, our next steps. I guess technically the first next step is people join as members. We are not collecting the $15 membership fee quite yet because we've got to figure out how we're doing that. But we need the membership to elect the board of directors. That will be in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in being on the board of directors, there is a checkbox on the form on the next page of this that should also be in whatever email or message you got this video clip in. If you're interested in being on the board of directors, check that off, and I will send you an email with some instructions about what else we need from you. Um, Once we have a board of directors, we're going to incorporate as a cooperative in Ontario. We are able to have members outside of Ontario. We just can't offer um, we can't have a physical location for Stardust in another province right now. Um, but thankfully, we don't have the resources for that, anyways. If we do ever end up operating in multiple provinces, then we can incorporate federally, and that's not a big deal. Once we've done both of those things, then we have some time to draft bylaws. Technically, legally, we have about 18 months to draft bylaws and hold our first annual general members meeting. I would ideally like to see us do that by September. I don't think it needs to be an 18-month process. We are not a tiny group of people. We are larger than I thought we might be when we first started doing this a few months ago. Um, but there's not a huge number of us. I'm pretty sure we can work together to get these two steps done in the next few months. And then we will be fully officially a cooperative operating in Ontario. Can't have a discussion because this is a video. I suppose I could leave comments open if I post this on YouTube. So if this is on YouTube, you can comments about it. Um, Otherwise, you can email us. And then, are you interested in being involved? What committees are you most interested in? Do you want to be part of the board of directors? And do you have any questions? All of these can also be answered if you scan that beautiful QR code on this slide. It'll take you to a Google form where I'm collecting people's answers to these questions and not a lot of other information. If you run into any problems with that QR code or with the form, or have questions that won't fit, then please again email info@stardustcollective.ca and we will happily help you out with that. Yeah, so I'm still Phoenix. It has been a pleasure walking you through these slides. This was a little bit longer than I expected it to be. Um, But yeah, I'm really excited about the future of Stardust, and I hope that you are too. Um, it's been a really cool journey so far. It's really great to see the number of people who have been excited to move forward with this. Um, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.